Why am I here?
Drama, yeah.
I'll go inside this for a
Thank you very much, Steve, for that. Thank you, it was wonderful. And my next guest will be, without further ado, is can I have Valentine and Yella, please. Valentine, thank you very much.
To a disciplinary, which we filmed next door, and they were found guilty and they were kicked out of the force. Now, that we shot that in 1988, what I remember was when I went to the audition, it was one of those things. I went to the audition and I came out and I said to my mum, Mum, I don't think I've got this, because they didn't really say much to me. I did my scene and they sort of said, all right, thank you. So I said, Mum, I don't think they had much. They didn't ask me much, so I don't think I got it. And then I eventually got the part, and so I did 5 episodes, but I was only actually in 4 episodes. And it all built up in the storyline. The episodes which were not the industrial tribunal or the sacking were done at Old Kent Road fire station. So we did all the scenes at Old Kent Road fire station. And then I didn't remember, I was racking my brains to where we shot the scene with the sort of disciplinary, and I was told it was next door, which kind of made sense. I remember that the actor that played the commissioner, I've forgotten his name, but I'd actually worked with him a couple of times. He was a really good man, and so that put me at ease because I knew him. And when I did the scene, and they asked me, why did he complain or whatever, I remember I was thinking about the death of my granddad, to put myself into the emotional state, to basically reply with the right kind of tone to do the scene. It was really good. As I say, I don't really remember so much apart from it being a really warm environment with everybody being really friendly. I remember I came on to the set. I went onto the bus one day, and then they said, "Hey, Val, come over here." And there was Terry Marsh, the boxer, at the back of the bus with Ben Murphy, and everybody was really friendly. I just remember having a really good time from it. And it seems strange just all these years to come back. Andrew's doing a great service, people memory, and to raise this money for charity. I'm still in the business. I work as a producer, producing films. We just finished a feature film at Meridian Studios, at Troubadour Studios in Meridian, Malta. So I stayed in the business, which is not easy.
Reset.
Same.
Oh wow, what great theme music! What great theme music! Oh, thank you for that background music. So those are my recollections. Does anybody have any questions? Good question. Yeah, so what happened actually was that they built the tank and they put an underwater camera to film up from the tank. And they tied me to a ladder. So we did the scene, they tied me to the ladder. But then what they did was they lowered the ladder so it was just my face and shoulders submerged in the water. And they held it for 5 seconds. So the ladder was kind of like going up and down with me. So we filmed that. And then there was a stunt guy who got tied up. Wasn't me. And got actually dropped into the water. So I didn't get dropped into the water. And I know that some of my characters had to do the firefighter training and stuff like that. I didn't do any of it. So they got a stunt guy. They got a stunt guy to actually get dropped into the water. And that's how they filmed that scene.
Thank you very much, Valentine. Thank you. Alright, my next guest will be Hannah Katrina, please. Thank you. So, those that don't know her, okay, would you mind telling us your character name and your experience among the and your
Hi everyone, I'm Katrina and I play Ariadne, one of the fire chief spirits. We have many options, two are in mystery. Yes, so basically, I thought I was going to be doing one episode. I was having a little contretemps with Ross at the end of an episode that had a party with him, and he was trying to hit on, I think it was a niece of mine, and I went over and gave him a piece of my mind, which was great fun, and it was all improvised. They basically had one tiny word, and then they said, just go, and I did, and we had a little song. I think we went on for ages, obviously it was possible. But from that point, I thought that was it. And then a little while later, they ring me up and say, oh, we're bringing Ariadne back. Do you want to come back? I said, do you want to come back? Of course I do. I'm always an out-of-work actress going to say no to my friend. To an episode actress. It turned out to be about, I think it was 19 or 20 episodes in the end. Just a little bit of everything now and then, which was great fun to do. Especially the trip to Cyprus. Actually, that was the first time I had ever been to Cyprus, and my family is actually from Cyprus, from Famagusta, which is occupied. And I remember saying to Andrew Casanea, I said, right, when we get to Cyprus, I'm going to put on a balaclava, and I'm going to go to the border. And he looked at me and went, I wouldn't do that. Because they've got machine guns. And I went, no, I think a change of plan. So I never did get to the border, but years later when I went back to visit, they were actually allowing us Cypriots to cross the border to see how they usually and so yeah, but that visitor's office was interesting. We went up the hill in a donkey boat. We had donkeys in it, so you can imagine the smell. Anyway, we got to this wonderful little village called Alsos, no jokes, and there were these lovely old ladies sitting outside a cafe, as the Greeks do, with their sort of backgrounds. And one of them looked up at me and went, "What are your cigarettes?" Because I used to smoke cigarettes in those days, and they were very fancy, with a full band, and he could see me. So I gave him one of those. And then he turned around and offered me a ring in a box and asked me to marry him. Now, apparently, they used to do this quite often with a very strange woman going through the village. I then learned later that these three brothers were, shall we say, slightly affected. And they were looked after by the state, but they were such darlings, and I just sort of thought, well, you know, if he's going to marry anyone, why not? Nice house up on the mountains in Cyprus. Yeah, that was kind of fun, except that I did get Sanskrit. Running up and down every road, but several times while they were trying to time a car going past. And I thought, this is madness, it's sort of middle of the day. And I did actually do it. I actually did get Sanskrit. Thank you so much. Apart from Cyprus, the rest of it was filmed in England, on dry land, except for the Shamsi. What can I say? It was great, it was good fun. Andrew and I shot a scene in a church where, weirdly enough, we had both been baptized. And it's a very famous Greek church in Houston, and we both went returning to the scene of the crime. And I was very new to doing mostly in theatre. And there was a scene we did in the church. And I didn't realise, I'd forgotten where the camera was, because I wasn't really very used to doing camera work. And they filmed the back of my head throughout that entire scene. And I'm sitting there looking at it and going, why has he got such a little view to this movie? Something going on here. And after we finished the scene, everybody clapped and said, that was great, you've got the back of your head. Can we do that again with you facing the camera, please? And I was like, oh no, I really, really screwed up. But anyway, they were hospital. I was glad to be of amusement to the crew. Probably not fed up with having a things there and having something to laugh at. So there you go. So I just
Thank you very much for this. Thank you. Thank you. My next guest will be Hannah. Can I have a Jason Sulky, please? Now, Jason, would you mind telling me who you played in Love is Burning and your recollection of the particular scene where you were alongside with David Collin and obviously who you are most known to be?
Yes, well, I must say, I was in one scene in one episode, and I was saying to everyone it was 1990, but it must have been 89, series 3, I believe. And I played a policeman who was pulled into a car because some groom had got his head stuck in the railings on a stand. And I'm spending the whole night trying to like turn him upside down and put butter behind his ears and trying to get him out. Shot in Southwark Park, sort of 1 in the morning. My biggest memory was sitting on the bus and watching, I think it was a semi-final of the Cup around the time that Oldham was playing. So that must have been April, I suppose. But really, I don't have that many memories of the beginning or the end or whatever. But obviously, most people know me for playing right from Harrison Sharp. But people do still recognise me from London's Burning, which is amazing. Yeah, really, I guess there's one scene on his burning, I can't really praise that anymore. But it was fun, everyone was really nice. It was on location, so I didn't get to go on any fire stations or be anywhere near any fire engines. But it was in the middle of the night in Southwark Park, I must say, and I lived in West London, so it was like I wasn't used to coming down south, below the river. But I must say, it's good memories and stick out. Anyone have a question? I probably don't, but any question about anything at all? No?
What would you say to somebody who hasn't seen the program before? Because my other half, he's never seen it. I'm trying to get him to
Never
watch
seen
it.
London's Burning?
Him there, he's never seen an episode at all.
Of London's Burning?
Yeah, of London's Burning.
I would say get on your telly, get on YouTube and watch it. It's an iconic series. I mean, I don't really remember any other series except in the fire station, you know, firemen. There's loads of cop shows. There's only one fireman show, right? London's Burning.
Yeah.
So London's Burning.
Yay!
So it's really nice to see this little community of London's Burning actors. It's really great. I do Sharp, and there isn't really a community unless I do it, unless I get in touch with them. They don't really gather like this, so it's really special. Well done, Andrew. It's been a great cause, so thank you for coming today, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Jason. Thank you. My next guest to us, can I have Brian, please? Brian Lawrence. So, Brian, she won't recognise him. Okay, so can you tell me who you played and your experience of
Sure, yeah, no, thank you. So I played Mason in, I think people here would know better than I do, I think about 5 episodes of London's Burning in the mid-90s. And I wasn't with the firefighters, I was with Billy Ray, John Orford, and his girlfriend, because I was the con man. I asked Billy, my friend, to loan me a fireman's uniform. And then I went around and do training people, going to different places, going to pretending I'm a fireman, fire alarm. I was basically a bandit, yeah. So I was a bandit. In fact, I remember the first, Mason, and it's weird because Paul Knight, the producer, then asked me to play Mason in Thief Takers, but another Mason entirely. I think Dave Mason in Thief Takers, and I said to him at the bomb and that. But back in my very first scene of London's Burning, I was knocking on the door of an old, a lovely old girl, and saying to her, your fire alarm's all out of date, love, and I've got to come and check your meeting and stuff. And then we'd go in and basically take some stuff out of it. But I got found out because she sort of looked through the letterbox, get away from here. But that was the very first scene I did of London's Burning, and I lost my voice again. So the second assistant director said, we're going to get through really rough like that. And I said, so she went in, it was about as it is, like sort of 1:30 in the morning, and she went and got some brandy for me. And I was gargling brandy and drinking it. Do you want some more brandy? I mean, that wouldn't happen now at all. There'd be like health and safety and so on. Are you allergic? I said, if people say to me now, have you got the allergies? I go, look, I'm a boomer. We haven't got allergies and things, have we? We don't have allergies. No, we just get on with it. Yeah, none of that. We just get on with it. We're old school. And in those days, the actors, we all sort of, unlike the regulars who are doing this series for, jobbing actors, we know each other. We meet each other on auditions. there were far fewer of us because we had to be equity members then. So it wasn't open to anyone else. So we meet each other at auditions, for commercials, for the bill, for the various things, and we, luckily that time, us Londoners were in vogue. You know, a bit rough, a bit London, a lot of stuff written for us. The Crime Monthly, you remember those on London Weekend? I said London's burning, bills, and all that. So we had a lot of work. And it's very different now. I'm still doing it now. So yeah, still hanging in there, but yeah, it was a great experience being with London's Burning. And I look at it now and think, wow, that is like iconic. You took it for granted then. There's a lot of great shows like Soldiers, I was in, various programs. They're all good. But you look back now and it's a completely. Yeah, I know, that's been signing guys with exit music. But they were really, really good programs. I don't think we'll ever see the likes of those again. So. And I'd like to reiterate Andrew and all the team for thank you for keeping this music going.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Brian. Thank you. And my next guest, without further ado, can I have Kim? Yes. Thank you.
Sorry, my legs are not what they used to be. Right.
Good afternoon, Kim. So, can you tell us who you played and your experience of working on Enermatrix, please?
Shall indeed. I was Nancy Ray. I was Billy Ray's mum, and I absolutely loved it. But there's a story that goes before Nancy Ray. Jack doesn't tell. I'd recently been in a film with him called The Norwich, where I was the lead girl. And he rang me and said, I'm writing this pilot about London firemen. It's going to be called London's Burning, and I want you to play the lead firewoman. And I said, oh, that sounds good. I said, unfortunately, Jack, I've just joined the police force for real. I'm training at Hendon at the moment. He went, what? I said, I've left acting and I've now become a police officer. Anyway, I didn't get the part. Fast forward many years, and I got beaten up on duty, got badly injured, so I came out on a medical pension. And I got cast by Corinne Rodriguez as Billy Ray's mum. So it came full circle, but I was too old to play a woman. So I played Billy Ray's mum instead. It was a real lovely experience. As many of you have said before, the people that have been on this here stage before me, the firemen in it, the characters in it, were really, really friendly and made me very welcome. I don't know whether many of you know that the actual pub that was used in London's Burning was a working pub. The beer kegs did work. And I think I've got this right, Michael, you might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but it was one of the firemen or one of the crew that had the licence for that pub.
Yeah.
He ran it,
Yeah, I do.
because you have to have a licence there to run the pub, and he held it. I can't remember which one it was.
Sam Kellis.
Sorry?
Sam Kellis.
Was it? Thank you. Some of you people know more about it.
Hey, my dad.
It's amazing. Did you say it was your dad?
No,
Oh,
as I
sorry,
said, I wished.
Anyway, so we used to meet up there after filming. We used to meet up in the pub. And I used to have a couple of drinks with all the firemen and had a really good time. It was lovely playing John Alford's mum. I know he's been in trouble a lot lately, and that is really sad. And some of you have asked me questions about it, and that's why I'm mentioning it now. But I knew John from a little boy at drama school. We studied at the same drama school, which is the Amateur Theatre in Islington. With the likes of Linda Robson and Pauline Quirk and my sister Gillian, Lula Conwell, loads of us. and Johnny Alford, so I knew him from a little boy. So to be playing his mum was an absolute joy and pleasure. We had a lovely time, but sadly he fell into bad times, and I won't mention that anymore. But I had a fabulous time playing it, playing Nancy Ray. It was good fun. Obviously they didn't need me anymore once John got into trouble, so I came out of that and went on to Bad Girls and a few other things, and I'm now in Panto playing the Good Fairy. So I don't suppose there's any questions. I'm quite happy to.
Which career did you prefer, acting or the police work?
Very good question. I actually preferred the police work. I really did enjoy being a cop.
Can I ask why? Why did you prefer the police
Well, I
work?
went up into the CID, and I wasn't a CID officer, but I went up into the office and dealt with lots of murders and rapes and abductions. And I think when you're finding the perpetrators of these terrible crimes, it's with great satisfaction.
Yeah.
And I
Making
really-
real world changes.
Yeah, I really did enjoy it. This was back in the 80s and 90s when people respected the police a bit more. Our generation do, but sadly they don't anymore. But I won't bleat on about the police force because that's not what I'm here for. But yeah, I really did like the police force more. But then went back into acting, went back into London's Burning, and that's what brings me here today.
Nice.
So thank you.
Thank you very much, Kim. Thank you. And my next guest will be, can I have Christine, please? Christine Enermatrix.
Yay!
Hi, so, can you tell me your character that we follow, some might not recognise you, and your experience of working on any film?
Hi everyone. I'm a
Hey.
bit croaky, so I'm going to have to sort of force out a bit of a sound. I played BT in London's Burning, and I was George's sister. He was the big sort of, the big kind of firefighter who started right from the beginning. And BT was rather new-like. I had 6 kids in the first, so I did the first 3 series. I was from episode 3, I think to episode 6, series 6. I had about 6 children, very low life. My costumes were all from the charity shop. And people said to me, did you put your voice on? Well, this was the voice up that I used. It was quite appropriate and just got very, very loud. I had a wonderful time. Fred Walder played my husband Cyril, who was a little bit of a ducker dealer and diver. George was fabulous. And they got rid of me and the family because I think George got married and then obviously his sister was no longer wanted. But they brought me back in a couple of years later, and I ended up with only 1 child, which was, I think, the son of the makeup artist, because they were sort of running out of money a bit, with all the cost of the pyrotechnics. So I had my 1 son, and I started to run a sex shop, which was very good fun. It was, it was great fun, and obviously George was very despairing. My husband had left me, but he came back. And then there was that fatal day when you get the script, you go in and you go in for costume fitting, and you look through what you're doing, and there was the inevitable fire.
Oh yeah.
Now, when you were in a fire, that meant bye-bye. Basically, that's how they got rid of you. So you sort of, you see the fire and you go, kind of flick through, but luckily I came out the other side. But sometimes you don't. And there was, I think I was working with Ben Wayne, George obviously all the time, Cyril all the time. And when we had the fire, like whenever there was a fire, I was in the fire station most of the time. But just the camaraderie I had. What was weird, I've done a lot of, I've done quite a bit of feminist theatre a little bit before then. and it was all this kind of, oh, you know, men are not supportive and all that. Well, sometimes it was actually quite not supportive as you like to think. And he went into this kind of arena of all these big, strapping geezers, and they were just the most supportive, wonderful. I don't know if you found this, Kim. The most supportive bunch of blokes. Everything, you know, they'd praise you, they were supportive, they'd make sure you were looked after. I had an absolutely fabulous time. And I left, I think a new producer took over, and I think the whole thing kind of changed. It went quite different. But I have to say my experience was quite remarkable, and I had a wonderful time. And any questions?
Do you still run the sex shop?
Yeah, no, I wasn't not making as much money as I did, so I had to give it up, yes. Yeah, well, thank you very much.
Have you ever
Thank you
been on
so
any
much
other
for coming.
question here?
I'm sorry?
Have you ever been on any other sets where you've experienced the same camaraderie?
Yeah, I mean, look, actors are great, to be honest. That, you know, they're very supporting. Like, you know, Birds of a Feather was something I did like regular, and obviously that was a lot of women, and that was very supportive. It's just that there is this sort of myth that I think sometimes when you're with a lot of, if you're going to be with a lot of men, because it was mainly men, there was, you know, Kim played parts, I played part, there were wives, there were mums, there were sisters. But you kind of led to expect, I think, that it's not going to be a kind of such a good time, and that was what I think from coming from playing all this kind of you know, different stuff to landing in such a supportive environment with all men was just fantastic. I just adored them, and I just, when everyone says to me, oh darling, you know, what was it like? And, oh, you know, didn't have all the sisters behind you. I said, well, thank for that, because they were absolutely wonderful, you know. So, yeah, any more questions? Okay, well, thank you all for coming. Thank you, Andrew, you know, for doing all this, absolutely fantastic. And thank you very much. And,
well, thank you very much, Christine. Thank you. My next guest will be, can I have Simon Sharkey, please? If you see. Please, thank you. Now you probably haven't seen me in front of a camera, but if you tell me your connection with London's Burning, and please.
Well, I started off on series 1 of London's Burning on camera crew in 1988, and then I went all the way through to 1990. So I was on the show full-time for 10 years. I was on the first 5 series on the camera crew, and then on series 6 I changed across to the scripts department and became the story editor, and I then storylined the series up to series 10, and then from series 7 I started writing the scripts, and I wrote 30 episodes after that. I'm a bit of an expert. So ask me questions. Yes, it was a very friendly show. I don't know if you remember, Kim, but I also wrote a load of mine that you did with,
I did with Dennis
Waterman.
Yeah.
So that followed on, but it was the same producer all night. And I think all of us who were involved in the show would pay tribute to Paul because he was the father of the whole thing. He gave me my break to write because, you know, I was a junior camera assistant, and I went to see him and said, I want to write on this, and he said, so he was an old school producer. We don't have the like of that at all now. And he you know, he lived and breathed this show. And I think the audience kind of loved him because he was, you know, he's very tough. He wasn't a pushover by any means, but he made it happen. And the fact that the same people, perhaps not so much on the cast, but certainly on the crew, went right the way through the full 10 years is a tribute to him because he made it like a family. And as you said, that was, as Christine said, it was very much that sort of family ethos. And we did all go drinking together, and you know, and actors would come into the show and then go out of it and come back in over the years. So it was a very, very happy time, really. We were very closely associated with the brigade. I filmed here in this building many times because we used to use it as the chief's office, and it actually really was the chief's office at that time. We had a wonderful fire brigade liaison called Bobby Clark, and he was a serving firefighter at that time as the ranking station officer. He'd been seconded to the press office, so he was kind of our minder of the brigade, from the brigade's point of view. So he would actually have his input to anything that we did, so that he made sure that it was very accurate to proper fire brigade procedures, and that we were fair and, you know, didn't misrepresent the brigade. Incidentally, after series 10, those last 3 series, he went, and I think that had a big effect on the series. The last 3 series didn't have his input, and so it changed, as you all know.
Yeah.
So he was a fantastic asset to the show. You know, worked so hard, was dedicated to it, and very often, if I would do a story and say, well, how about this? And he would say, well, that would never happen. Wouldn't do it like that. But how about this? And it would always be better. And so often you'll find that the real way of doing something is actually the better, and it can be just as good better. So you have these number of fantastic, strong characters who ran this show, and that's, I think, what made it the success that it was. Question?
What gave you the confidence to go from the camera to writing scripts? Had you written scripts before, or you fancy doing it, or?
I had written scripts before, yeah.
For TV? For TV?
Yeah, and I went to film school, and in fact, although I went into cameras directly from film school, I did nearly 10 years in cameras, it was always my aim to move across to script writing, and I think the confidence is the fact that, you know, 5 series on cameras, one knew that show inside out. You knew all the sets, you knew the locations, you knew the characters, you knew the fire brigade procedures. So actually, it wasn't that big a stretch to start writing.
And they didn't have writing teams, they had individuals each episode, no teams?
We did. It's not like today where you have a writer's room.
Yeah.
There was, when I started, the first time was on series 6, there were 2 writers, David Humphries and Tony Moore, and then I was storylining with him. And then on series 7, Tony dropped out, so it was just Dave and I. And so 7, 8, it was just the 2 of us, so we would work on incredibly hard. He would do one, I'd do one, I'd do the next one, he'd do the next one.
So the storyline's written for you and you just fill in the scenes, or was that the idea, kind of?
No, we wrote the storyline.
Yeah.
I wrote the story.
But you said that someone did storylines and someone did scripts, is that?
Yeah, it was me.
Yeah, right, so okay, right. Yeah.
So we were working very hard, and so what happened is that in between series in the summer, I'd go down to Vids with David Lee and stay in a hotel, and then every day we'd get together and we'd figure out storylines for the next series and draw up this very complicated chart and sort of graph, cross-plotted everything, because in those days we were doing probably a 10-episode series, and then actually whilst we were on one of the series, maybe series 8 or maybe 9, halfway through they said we want 5 more. So we were all shooting, and we had to write 5 more, and so by then everyone was catching up with us, because it used to take about 4 weeks to write a script, which took 2 weeks to shoot it. So they were catching up, so you have this shoe, you know, hot on our hill.
And what's the writing side affected by the budget for the effects? You have to restrict it because of...
Yeah, you did, but I think again that was something about knowing the show so well, is that you knew what you could do and where you could save money without even thinking about it. You could save money before it gets paid. So, but then things did change, and in series 10, the history of it was that London Weekend, which is a production company, got bought by Granada, and Granada immediately imposed very, very heavy budget cuts. So we had to do the same show for, I think it's about 25% less money. And so everybody noticed that the scale of the fires and the incidents of the effects was reduced. We were trying to do the same job as this one. And then by the end of series 10, it just became untenable. And I think that's when Paul went and I went, and a lot of the sort of core people left. And the budgets of the last few series were much, much lower.
Of all the scripts that you've written,
Second down, she's asked.
Well, I mean, you have the two sides. In every episode, you have the shout, which was sometimes very big, sometimes not so big, but that was always the centerpiece. Then you have at least one secondary shout, which we call the B shout, and then sometimes you have a little fun shout. So you might have three separate shouts, but then you have the domestics interweaving all of that all the way through, and that's what you would plot. So for each character, you had what they do across the whole series, but then also what they do in each episode. You plot that. So I don't think I can say I had a favourite. It was just about really making each episode very rich with all those different elements. And the other thing, and I know Andrew, I've said this before, but what people often don't know is that the episodes followed the shift structure of the brigade, which you wouldn't know that if you didn't know the brigade. But actually, the duties on and the duties off were accurate in the episodes. And that was frustrating sometimes in story terms, because you wanted that to happen, but they wouldn't have been on duty. So you have to go to the domestics and then bring them back after that. I mean, it doesn't really matter that the duty structure was correct, but we understand.
Question back here.
Okay, because you can't see me down here. Of all the scripts that you've written, what was your favourite episode? And also, what was your favourite episode of all the episodes?
Well, actually that's two parts, because for half of them are really helpful. I think it was series 2 or maybe 3. Series 3. And that was great, because what we did there was we went up to, I think it was Peterborough, to train sardines, and the art department just got some planes and scratched them up. And then we dressed in background artists and some stunt people, and made cars into the carriages, made them all look covered in blood and opened up. And then we had, I think, 4 or 5 cameras and just went for it. So, in other words, it wasn't the normal thing of filming where you do a little bit and cut, move on, do another bit. They just 5 cameras going, and the actors had all been briefed. You'd be over here doing this, you'd be trying to rescue him, you'd be trying to remove that casualty, and we just all rushed out. So that was a very, very exciting evening. It was a night shoot, we went right through the night on that, and at the end of it, everyone was completely exhausted, but it was a very good result, I think. Yeah. So that was probably the best shoots when I was on campus. Writing-wise, very often it was actually, the big shouts, like when Helen died, that was a massive shout that I wrote.
Yeah.
And that was in a sugar factory in, something like that. And that was interesting because we knew we wanted to kill poor Sean, and we wanted it to be very dramatic, and so we knew this factory was available, and then we wanted it there. So we went up there, and we wrote the whole thing to fit the location. Normally it's the other way around, you write something and then they find a location that matches. But here we went there, we saw what we could do, we saw there was that huge drop that we could drop it down. And so I went home and figured it all out based on the plans and the photos that we had. And I have to say, it all worked perfectly well. And we managed to shoot the whole thing with what we had. And, you know, it all worked extremely well. So I think as a sort of, as an exercise in the logistics of filming, that was what we did.
Was it difficult to do a stunt like that?
The stunt was at what's known as fan center, where the stuntman is on a wire, and he jumps, and he's going down, and someone is adjusting the speed of the wire at the bottom, and as he comes out, they slow it down so he never actually touches the floor and stop him just off the bottom of the floor.
Okay.
Hi, Josh. Did you write the one when we filmed at Studio in Lincolnshire? Yeah, with the RFS?
With all the gas tanks
Yes.
exposed, yes.
I was there on that night, so I was literally. Yeah. We were on a table watch having an amazing set.
Yeah.
So many things being fired in there. What a brilliant scene that was.
Yeah, well,
Were you comfortable with the
I think that was the transition time when I just
that was one of my just turn up and help out night.
Well, mentioning all night again, when he said, you know, why don't you do the storyline, he also said, but just to let you know that the storyline earns less than the camera. I don't want you to be unpopular. So what he said was, and this is a tribute to him, that when we are doing stunts or fires or effects, the normal thing is to bring in additional cameras. So, you know, the core camera crew, but you also bring in extra cameras, extra crew. And he said, so whenever we're doing anything like that, why don't you come in and do the cameras? So what it meant was that I was then being camera assistant on the scenes that I was and I remember filming on we used to do a thing called the Pinkie pickups, we hadn't got the main shoot. So I was brought in to do that. And we were in the locker room, scene, and one of the actors came up to me and asked about the line, because they knew I'd written. The director, that was his first time on the show, he didn't know me. He was like, well, they must have been for it. It was quite funny that was just one series, but I did both. But I think that was in the shout you're describing.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that was
Jeff did that for Jeff was there on that. Yeah.
Simon, just one question on the art. When the turbine drops down, going through some birds, that's actually written. When you hit the ground, and all the rubber comes on top of them, how's that done?
What you do it at the stuntman was just coming down, and then you probably cut to something like here. Sean would just drop the last few feet onto the floor, and then someone would get loads back onto it.
The rubble, was the rubble
It would be
work?
just polystyrene. He and I shared an office, so when we were talking, he just was in a course of discussion. It wasn't like confused. Oh, what we must change this. We went through, and so but I do remember one thing. This involved John Orchard, where it was a laundrette where the washing machine had gone wrong, and the laundrette filled the ceiling with smoke. And the gag was that the lady was locked in the back room, and John had to go to the rescue because he was the shortest person. So the idea was that they made him do it, and so that he's just talking to like George going across the road. And I wanted to do that, because she is helping go back to the he said, no, stop that. He said, because he's got ring under the phone, so he wouldn't have it. So that is the stuff. And so we still did it when he that was the great thing about the act, you might tell what it was doing. So a lot of those scenes they're in the SBA, and then we would just do close-ups of the visor, so you could recognise the eyes of the actual artist, and then everything was done in this sort of terms of sound. Any other questions?
Simon, before I go to the hall, was that Martin?
Oh.
Suppose we did the fall, and Jonathan Rose, was that Mark Henson?
I remember some of them, definitely. So he was a great character. Peter Diamond was another one.
Yeah.
Who
Excellent soldier.
Yeah, he was an arranger on the early series before and Derek Ware was a habit. That's right. Yes, okay. Yeah, so Lucy Allen and Mark Henson were the stars on that show.
He's also known as Franklin Henson, who's still credits as well. Mark Franklin. Frank.
What's his first name called? Frank?
Yes, Frank's still. Mark's is still, yeah.
The last is that,
Yeah.
because Frank Henson did the fire engine and over and just no questions. Doing some back in underground back to back then, if they're doing underground today, how different would that be with the conversation with CGI, all the laws that go around and stuff like that, which we get, the big old CGI, fake fires and stuff. How has it changed massively? I mean, sometimes I sit back and just go cold. You get a high vis on that sort of thing. No, I mean, we did one on the Thames Barrier, and it wasn't so much the start sitting in the cameras, we were on the top of the Thames Barrier with no harnesses or anything. But there was one funny incident when we were at Long Lane, which was our second studio. We did a shout where they had to rescue a steeple on top of a chimney. And so what they did was they built the chimney on the roof of the Long Lane studios. And everyone was around and, wherever it was, on top of the chimney. And then a man comes into the reception of the studio and said, "You've got to stop that." And the receptionist said, "You can't do that, you've got to stop it." So they called Paul up, and of course Paul comes out when to take him on. And he said, "What are you talking about? You can't do it, it's my studio." And he said, "Yes, but I'm concerned about the health and safety executive, and my office is just over the road." And they're watching, they're all doing it all morning. Brilliant, so they shut it down. But no, it's completely different. And visual effects are used great deal, so people don't need to do it.
So, television back in the day was like groundbreaking film storyline. Were there any storylines that you put on paper that you told them?
the thing was that we weren't there to that wasn't our brain. What we wanted to use to show that entertain people. We did research about stuff. And like I said, they were pushing research things, but they weren't pushing their work because they didn't want into the daily news like that. I wouldn't have to comply with that. I didn't have to work with propaganda. But at the same time, I didn't see much around doing things like that. So we really don't need to put it on that sort of point. You're not quite funny about the crowd where I thought knew that America was like now it wasn't all the things that were very but we all knew that it was just they were pretty much all because as you all know, the department have so, but that was an example of where we complied with their wish a little bit, but we knew it would happen, so we had the talk around the mess room, around the mess table.
Yeah, I've got zoom in anyway.
Thank you. Now, I haven't missed anyone. Yes. Can I have David Jones? Right, so can you tell me your character and your experience?
Hello, good afternoon. And, thank you to Andrew for all this, meeting new friends. Thanks, Jeff, for the goodies. And Kim, so forth. I wish I'd known you were a copper in my early years. I'd have behaved very So, London's burning. It's 1989. I don't remember a lot back, to be honest. I remember getting, was it those days where actors didn't have to do these stupid self-tapes and send them off with 600 other people? And I think that one of the leaders person said you won't do this, right? And because I read it, and then the first episode I was supposed to be like this woman, am I right? I believe they cut the scene in this show, right? So in the first episode, obviously I was all told called Rick, which is not prison. Then in the second episode, I did have a brother, which is so that's kind of my little understanding journey. Something itself, and then you disappear. I don't really know what's happening. There was a lovely time, lots of time. We actually did take another cut, it wasn't me, it was other train. But yeah, a good bunch of people. I just remember it being lots of colour, it was snowing. And I only had a football shirt and my jacket. Well, Kim and I had toured together. I pride myself in going most of the time, and it was one of the only times I could not be on the lines because I was just in the cover. I can't remember the director was. I think it was in a wheelchair. I think it broke his leg or something. So it kind of sort of mix and match of really wonderful people on the set. I can't remember where the set was because it was, location outside houses and stuff, flats and stuff. But it was a nice job. It was just amazing that all these people here I remember every second of it. And I'm struggling to remember kind of hardly anything. And well done, everyone. It's great to see the loyalty of British television because it's gone downhill. Maybe it's coming back up, who knows, but they were the good old days. So thanks very much. Wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, Stephen. And last but not least, I always like to have the very best person to ask. Can I have Michael Gallop?
Thank you, thank you. Am I just going to talk? Is that the idea? I'm going to follow Simon Sharpie, that's the scenario. So I did 10 series, I did about 120 odd episodes, so this could take a while. I don't really know where to start. What I've just remembered, oddly, was I was on tour in a play, Hamlet actually, in 1986, and we were in Edinburgh, and I got a call saying, Crane Rodriguez wants you to come down to read for a part in a thing about firemen. And I said, oh, no, I can't do that, so I never went. And it was for the part of Charisma. And I'd forgotten that completely. Not that that's, is that interesting? Shall we go with questions? Because literally I could talk about anything, anywhere, anytime. Would that be a good start?
You were one of my favourite characters, but of all the roles you played, what's your favourite?
What, in my career or in
Your career.
Oh, I don't know where to start. Pierce was a biggie. I mean, for me, I just had a baby. Well, we just had a baby. And I remember bringing it home thinking, Jesus, you know, how am I going to pay for this? And I got London's Burning a few months later, so it was like manna from heaven. And then they asked me to do another series, and then we had another baby, and then they asked me to do another series. So it's really entwined with my children being born and being small. So it's a lovely sort of bubble of the 90s of memories for me. So probably it's the most significant. But I think the fun of being an actor is doing different things, and it's like it's a new exam, a new job, you know. So everything has its own interest.
So as you were in like pretty much every episode, what's your favourite?
Well, I've been sitting listening to that and thinking about that. You certainly do, and I think we've gone over, you know, the death of Helen and the cylinders flying through the air, and like no one really knew where they were going to land, I might just add. And you literally are running around kind of making sure that they don't land on you. I'm not sure you could even do that now. You couldn't just fire big black things in the night sky with actors and everyone. I actually remember the wedding, oddly enough. Pierce got married, I don't know if you do that. And it was really funny because it's like, it becomes like a real wedding. So like months before you film this, it's just another scene, isn't it, in the story. People come up to you and go, so what are you wearing for the wedding? And everyone's like choosing their dresses for the wedding. It's kind of strange, it becomes sort of an event. And I actually remember that, it was a lovely sunny day, and we went off in a helicopter, didn't we? I think I remember right. I remember that really vividly, actually. But I do remember very much what Simon's already described, the death of Helen and the whole Susan Night shoot. I think it was near Peterborough, actually. And I remember that there's a lot of trepidation when stuntmen does a film like that, because although it's the theory's sake, there's never kind of complete. And it's the middle of the night, you know, it's 4 in the morning, the wheel goes quiet, and you all stand and wait. And, you know, I remember really clearly waiting for the guy to do the fall, which was very spectacular to see. And, yeah, I think probably that. But also, it's an active, truth is, it's an active job, so quite often there are small wins that are really pleasing. This isn't really kind of very good anecdote, but as an actor you just have a scene, you're giving it, you have very little time to learn it because you're just knocking this stuff out all day long. You make a decision about it and you play it and you think, actually, I think that worked quite well. I felt like a sort of three-dimensional human being in that scene, you know. And that is actually really quite satisfying. You know, it doesn't come in many headlines, but you have those kind of small wins every day. You bank it, and then you move on to the next scene because it just keeps coming at you if you're one of the principal characters. You know, you're doing a day in the or domestic day, even domestics. You're just like knocking these scenes out one after another. And we used to do 2 episodes at once for a long time. So you were doing episodes from scenes from doing episodes after each other. And you probably only learned to do that before, truth be told. So it's kind of an exercise in concentration, you know. That makes sense.
Michael, when you joined, was Poison Pierce already the moniker? And as playing that character, did you find that you were sometimes ostracised, or did it affect your life outside because you played that not one of the boys as such?
It was quite cruelly written at the beginning, because they wanted someone to come in and sort of be the fly in the ointment. But the problem is, they've got to sort of be able to work with everyone. They've got to sort of be one of the heroes of Blue Watch. Yet they don't want everyone just getting on with each other all the time. And Paul Knight had done Robin of Sherwood in Bristol, I think it's his right son, isn't it? And he had a few problems in Bristol. So I think his homage to the West Country was to make Pierce from Bristol. That's fair to say. And Poison Pierce wasn't in the original script either. I think that might be Simon Sharkey's invention. Is that true?
No, actually, Poison Pierce was Tony Hall.
Okay, yeah. And you don't have very long, but all I did was I just made a decision to play, which you could do if you know you've got a few scenes, which is you don't play with it, you play against it. So he, as far as I was concerned, he was doing things that were procedurally correct, the right thing to do, calling out misbehaviour or irregularities. And so he's always, in his head, the good guy. If you play that, then what he does informs the audience about other things. So that was kind of what I went with, really. And you cross your finger and hope it works. I think it's better, because you can't play being scheming, or, you know, it's very, very crude to, you know, be that. The guy has to be a hero in his own narrative, even if no one else thinks so, you know. He sort of becomes the bloke, everyone works with someone who sort of they can tolerate, but really don't want to sit next to when you go out for a works meal, you know. You don't want to be at the end of the table with Jeff Pierce. That was sort of what was in my head. And then it kind of grew. The writers watch you, and they start writing because they know it's you. And I guess, I don't know what happens, you will symbiotically becomes hopefully a little richer and more multi-dimensional, I think.
But didn't it affect you socially?
So, no, it was fine. I mean, you know, it's pretend, isn't it?
Michael, I love Bruno and I love your chemistry with Pinkie as well.
Well, Bruno was a surrogate wife. Because the wife left me, he couldn't sit and talk to himself at home. So I think initially the dog was there really as a sort of substitute wife. If that makes sense. I'm not really a dog person, actually, to be honest. Not at all, no. But he was a very, very sweet dog, very well trained, very easy to have around. But of course, you only see Bruno when he has to be there. So if you see me talking to Bruno, and it's on me, I'm talking to usually Mickey Boyce, this prop man nearing the floor. You don't use the dog unless you really have to use it. So a lot of it isn't actually even there. I mean, sorry to kill your dreams, destroy the whole Bruno legend. But and at the end, it wasn't even the same dog. No, we swapped dogs for the last series or two because he didn't die, but he got too old. I don't know, arthritis, could it be, or something? I think that's quite common in boxers. So we swapped another dog in. No one noticed. And when he dies, doesn't he, Bruno die? Yeah, that's a stuffed dog in the house. Is this too raw, or is this too brutal? Okay.
When perhaps your sister turns up at the house and you smash all the plates in the kitchen.
Yeah. That happens.
And you throw all the plant pots over the car.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh, yes, that's right. All I remember that was they were supposed to be prop plates, and they weren't. This is true. The director had a baby basically, because you're not really supposed to smash wood plates, it's dangerous. So props had to score a line on the back of the plates to make them weak. So when I smashed them, they would break. But it's quite really be doing that. That's actually, doesn't he smash them in the kitchen? He smashed them in half. They're real plates. So, no eye protection or anything.
You said Patty wanted half, you're going to give her half.
Correct. That's right, yeah.
Where was your favourite location to film?
It's such a big sweep of time. I don't know.
What was the most memorable?
The place I remember is the fire station. For the Clients Bay and the yard were in the real
Dockhead.
back wall. What's the Dockhead?
Dockhead.
Which is no longer, well, it's been rebuilt, as you probably know.
It's actually been flipped around.
Yeah, I've been there, yeah.
I've been to the fire station recently, and looking in, it's like, this is supposed to be over there, not over here. They've literally flipped it all around. It doesn't look the same.
My memory is still sitting, when you're not being used, they used to put some chairs in the back, we used to sit in a semicircle. There's quite a lot of downtime. And over the years, this sort of mad alternative universe between us. Like there was a phase where everything had to be described in French. Do you remember that, Simon? So turtle, in cockney, turtle doves, so turtles is doves, but there was being laid turtles. And everyone was talking, like really weird madness goes on. It's been so, I remember that all the time. It was rather nice memory that actually.
Who was your favourite cast member to work with?
Oh, there's a question. I couldn't possibly say.
Like, who did you feel like on the on-screen scene you had the most chemistry?
I tell you who's a really good is Helen, who played my wife, is a really good actress. She's really true and straightforward, and I thought I lucked out by having her cast as my wife.
Which one?
The second one. It was like being in a football team, I always think. So everyone was quite, it was sort of cliche, but there wasn't really much side to anyone. There was no real status.
When you found out the short was going to be shot, and obviously you said that
I dropped him.
Yeah, but what was your feelings at the time you read the script? That was...
Well, you know what? This sounds terribly. You just think, well, great scenes here. Bit to work on here, because it's not the normal everyday fire station stuff. We've got a really good story arc. So selfishly, it's just really good material to work on. The fact that there's really nothing to do with me or my remit. So, and you want to beat the band who drops in. You don't want to be the man outside, sitting in the plant studio. So it was good. It's great, a bit strange at the time, but that's another story.
It said that obviously when you did the wedding scene, it became the whole month leading up to the Gallop Crush. How did that compare to your actual wedding?
I've never had an actual wedding.
Oh, okay.
That's stopped in your tracks. I've had a civil partnership, if you really want to know, but that was only a year ago. I'm just oversharing. Thank you. I mean, it was with a woman I've been with for 40 years, I just got to say. But it's a technical thing. Are we done? We're done. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think I've covered everybody. I guess we'll still be here for a short period. So feel free to ring your Oxford. If you forgot to ask any questions for the Q&A, feel free to ask them in person. And also,